Welcome to the latest edition of Business Spotlight. I'm joined today by Phil Moore, who is co-founder of Le Hood. So, Phil, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Gavin. Good to meet you.
Well, Le Hood's a fairly young business, Phil. So let's start off by finding out a little bit more about it, what it's all about and how it started.
Okay, so quite an interesting beginning. It all started back in December 2019 on the end of a Christmas dinner with my nephew Elliot, who's a hairdresser, a senior stylist for George Northwood in London. And he said to me, I've got this idea for an alternative. My customers spend a lot of money on their hair, and I've got an idea for an alternative to an umbrella, because people go outside the salon, the wind's blowing, the rain starts, and they're cool. And I said, well, great, give me an idea what you've got in mind. And he ran through the concept, and I said, great, really sounds fascinating. I have an entrepreneurial spirit, but how do we get to market? Who do you know? Because my background is construction, real estate, and this isn't something that I really am happy swimming in this arena. And so I took his idea, spoke to a patent lawyer, and did a bit of research before we reached out to any other potential contacts. And the interesting part is the umbrella market. You wouldn't believe there are 1.1 billion umbrellas thrown away each year. So there's a sustainability issue. Gosh. The market umbrella is worth $7 billion globally. The world average of ownership of umbrellas is 2.4. It's massive in Japan with 3.3 per person. And I kind of thought it was that like eureka moment. We might be onto something. So it was then all about assembling a team, all under NDAs, because we hadn't gone through the patent process. And the first person to come along as part of the team was Carolyn Asson. She's a journalist, brand consultant. She's worked for the Times, Vogue. Wonderful lady, hugely experienced. And from there, it was a question of, right, now, how do we get a designer on board? And Carolyn knew David Zito, who is recognized as being one of the world's top 100 designers. He's exhibited at Paris Fashion Week, sold to Bergdorf Goodman, Barney's, and Net-a-Porter, to name a few.
Yeah.
And to sort of round it up, we have a finance director, Anne Day, who I've worked with in the past, who's been a finance director for a FTSE 250 company. So we put together a team. So now let's build a company. So along comes Chris Aldridge of Mahon Aldridge Sykes as our patent lawyer, to look at patenting, trademarking, also registered design. And we then started the process running. We registered the company, no salaries, because obviously we're a startup, all incentivized basically by shares and ownership in the business. We produced the first few products, and from there till our launch in October 2022, it was very much prototyping and trying to get something that works. And you can see behind me, this is a lovely picture of the Ritzer Le Hood as it's worn. It is beautiful. It's loosely based on a Balenciaga design back in, I think, the 40s. We launched, as I say, in October 22 and promptly sold out in 6 weeks, some 2,000 pieces. We had extensive press coverage in the Financial Times, Times Guardian, Daily Mail, Vogue. So it's hugely exciting, but the excitement then brings challenges. What do we do? What do we do now? We'd had a huge success, but because we were a startup, although we'd sold out October, we couldn't restock for Christmas. We missed the window. So really and truly, we've geared up for this year. And at present, perhaps might be useful. I'm going through this rather quickly, Gavin, so stop me if I'm rattling too much. Yeah. We are currently in discussions with a major Japanese retailer, where, as I mentioned, the Japanese have a lot of interest in umbrellas with 3.3, I think I said, but per person. We're talking to a 100-store chain in Canada, and also 2 major global retailers.
It sounds to me, Phil, as though you're quite agile as a group and you're thinking on your feet. But in terms of perhaps learnings for yourself and other people, forgive me, but it feels as though the idea, the excitement of the idea kind of got away with you with those early days, those early weeks. And then what you're doing is you're playing catch up in terms of putting the systems in place. I mean, I count retailers amongst my clients, and I know the nightmare it can be in order to predict the stock and order the stock and all those kind of things. So is that something you recognize, that you're, despite all your years of experience as an entrepreneur, etc., you're still struggling to get things into place in time, the right spot?
Some and some, Gavin, because we initially launched on a B2C model.
Right.
So we do have all the systems in place. We use James & James Fulfillment. I'm plugging actively here, so forgive me if you want to. But they've been wonderful. I went and visited them, and it was a bit like to understand the process. And along the way, I've learned about SKUs, barcodes, how we work, all that delivery, consignments, manufacturing. So we originally looked at a B2C model.
Right.
But the thing with that, the challenge, I guess, is how do we get people to be aware of it?
Yeah.
You know, and marketing is hugely expensive. And a lot of this, the growth of a business is hugely exciting. I mean, I love business and I love people, but you know, you have that sinusoidal when you're on an up, and then it's crumbs. What do we do now?
Yeah.
And I think that we are at the point where we have a really fabulous product. I would say that we have fabulous lifestyle products in the pipeline. We have a Humera sun hat. We have a Le Bag yet to be named, all covered by the same pattern.
Yeah.
We have most young businesses will struggle with funding. That has been challenging, and we can talk about that if you want later. But we're kind of we are agile because we're able to think about, you know, okay, we've got to this point. We clearly have a product that has traction. It's a disruptor, to use modern terminology.
Yeah.
But how do we actually grow it?
So when this idea first was kind of born, the stages you worked through, well, you know, we found a space in the market, you know, for people who want to look after their hair, don't want umbrellas, they want to look stylish, they don't want to put a nanny hat on their, or whatever they're called, on their heads, etc.
Yeah.
And so you took the idea, and you obviously drew some really well connected, you know, you're very well connected, you brought some key people in to this. So let's talk about the funding. What got you off the ground? How did this business start in terms of you know, being able to fund itself?
Okay, so before I say that, probably I ought to just show you this is a Le Hood worn on the wrist. So this is how it would look normally.
Yeah.
So it's quite an attractive, or somewhat like a scrunchie.
Yes.
But it's easy. You know, you can just wear it.
It's there.
And then you open it up. Yeah, I won't open it up because on me it doesn't look so good. The photo does it a lot more justice. Yeah. But the funding, okay, so the funding's primarily the seed funding was provided by myself largely and co-directors. But
so you backed your own idea, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you don't have skin in the game, you know, who is going to believe in you if you can't fund the whole process? I can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's a question then reaching, when you go for the next round, we've had 2 rounds so far, so we reached out to further investors for the second round of funding. I won't go into numbers, but that was a successful round. And in January 24, we're looking to crowdfund the project to take it to the next level, for the new product development, which, as I say, will be a sun hat, a bag, and a poncho, literally the same way, worn on the wrist, functional, hands-free, fun and useful. And really, I think, as you can see, I probably should move out of the way, but you can see that it's a beautiful piece, beautifully designed by David.
Do you see crowdfunding? This is just, I'm really asking for your opinion on this now, because I know you're just moving into that stage. But do you see that as a mixture of logic and emotion from the potential crowdfunders? You know, the logic is in the quality of the product and its potential to
Yeah.
grow, but the emotion is then that it is a disruptor. It's a cool idea. It's, you know, it's something that people might want for themselves. Is that where crowdfunding really fits into this, do you think?
I think it's very well put. I think yes. I think people will see this, or I hope that people will see this and get it straight away. And there, you know, there is the opportunity, you know, for a wonderful return on investment, which is what most investors will be looking for. There is, of course, risk because we are a startup, but there's the tax incentive. We're EIS registered, so all the incentives are in place. We're a small proper business with ambition to change the world, shall we say? The world.
I like that, a small proper business with ambition to change the world. And what's proper about it is that you've assembled a really talented team around you. And you've tapped into the people that you know. Phil, I think we'll leave it there. I think that's really interesting, and you've shared some really, well, your journey, but also your motivators and your passion is really coming through across.
Well, thank you, Gavin.
This call. I love the reference to sinusoidal. I think that's really apt, and obviously to your network. So thank you very much for your time today, and we wish you all the best with Le Hood.
Absolute pleasure, Gavin. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
You're welcome.
All the very best. Take care now.